Welcome to Evilive, the live media commentary show that answers the question, does camping in the wilderness bring you back to normal? Subscribe, does it? You tell me.
I don't know. I was going to say yes, but I don't think it does. I think it kind of resets you a little bit, but not
100%. Definitely reset. Anyway, subscribe if you're new to the channel, because today we're reviewing FX's Season 3, Episode 6 of Reservation Dogs, titled Frankfurter Sandwich.
Best goddamn line of the show.
Frankfurter Sandwich.
This episode.
Yeah, what do you think of this episode?
Man, this was... so I actually had to look up the timestamp, or the time of this versus the other episodes, because this felt just significantly shorter than the rest. And it wasn't. It was like a minute shorter than the last one or something like that.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it just felt super short. It was great. But it was one of those ones where I didn't see that ending coming. I mean, not the ending proper, but the ending of the story.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of just hit real fucking fast and real hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved this episode for every reason. Like, everything they hit was just relatable and awesome, and I loved it. I just fucking loved it so much. All right, so this was directed by Black Horse Lowe, written by Bobby Wilson and Sterlin Harjo, and it was released this August 30th. And, I mean, this is literally just Cheese has been sort of withdrawing from all of his friends because they're growing up faster than he's youngest of them all. They're all going to go their separate ways, supposedly, in some form or another. And he's just sort of having this weird experience of, I think it's a combination of having a really great video game and his friends are leaving. And so he doesn't mind indulging in said really great video game.
That's the thing. They want to set it up like he's isolating because of his friends, but yeah, like if you're a gamer, man, you find a good one, you don't want to do shit.
That looked like a cool, scary game.
Yeah, I want to play this.
Like, is that real? Is that a real game, or is that just for the show?
If it is, I hope so. Like, I want to kill a bunch of Catholic zombies.
That sounds amazing.
Right? And it straight up reminded me a little bit of The Last of Us. Like, that kind of looked like the hospital at the end of the first game. So, yeah, I was feeling it.
Yeah, I dug this episode a lot. Okay, so I like this setup. Grandma, who's really not his grandma, but Grandma, like, calls in help because she sees that Cheese is sort of regressing away, just like their friend Maximus did. And so she calls in all of Maximus's friends, which is a beautiful way of tying together this entire season. Last season, we had this really great focus on the women of this area, all the moms and grandmas and stuff, and all the female characters. And this season is very much centered around the male side of things. And maybe it's because I have a penis. I like experiencing the male side from time to time. I loved the last season with the girls. I think girls are amazing. But sometimes, man camp, I like to hang out with dudes and understand the complexities of what it means to be a man. Because it's not just a black and white thing. We're taught to be one thing, and our experience in most cases is very different than what we're taught.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, as children, we're taught that this is what a man is.
Yeah.
And then we spend the whole rest of our lives trying to break down what that is and why it's wrong and why we can be something else but still be a man.
Yeah. And just how to justify how we feel versus what we're told we should feel. And, arguably in most cases is you should not feel, and yet we do. You should not cry or show emotion, and yet we do. So does that mean that I'm not a man because I feel this way? Because I feel sorrow for the loss of friends that I connected with? No, it doesn't mean you're not a man. It just means you're a human fucking being.
Right.
Like, it's just amazing to me that this idea of what masculinity means in the 80s versus what it means nowadays is completely diametrically opposed.
Oh, yes.
And yet we're all just supposed to just flick a switch and just be like, oh yeah, no, I'm different now. No, it's hard. You have to.
Yeah, you literally have to constantly work on it.
It really does feel like you're sort of mentally programmed, and you have to deconstruct the programming. In some cases, I don't know. Like a lot of it is just.
That's 100% it.
Anyway, okay, so for that reason, I really love this because these older men that we've all grown to love throughout the course of these series, seasons. are all getting together. They see this kid who seems to be getting a little bit lost, and they're like, we're going to take this young one under our wing, and we're going to show him what we couldn't show our friend, or we're going to connect him to him in a way that we couldn't connect with our own friend, because we don't want to see it happen again. Yeah. And it seems like this is a tradition. I don't know. I could be speaking out of school. But the way it's presented, it seems like it's a tradition of a lot of not just men, but a lot of individuals' experience on reservation, where they seem to sort of disconnect, lose sense of who and what they are because of the situations that the world has forced them into in some cases. And then they try to, and this, everyone, not just people on reservation, but they try to aspire to be something that they're told they should be, and yet they can never achieve that. And so they sort of disintegrate within themselves almost.
Yeah.
In some cases falling to drugs or alcohol in order to cope with that factor. But I don't know, is this, I don't want to put it on you to sort of explain, but is this a sort of symptom of our culture, or is this a symptom of the culture that the reservation is forced to adopt? Because just reality.
No, I think this is a wholly universal thing, because this isn't like this episode. It didn't feel to me like it was Indian centric. It was men centric. Yeah. Like the idea of, just like what you're saying, we're taught we can't cry, we can't show emotions. Like the only emotions that are safe for us is anger and happiness. Anything else, we're not a true man. So like all of this, I mean, this could have been anywhere, any part of the world, any race, nationality, whatever, and it still would have been 100% universal. So I think it's more the big picture versus one spot of the world.
Yeah, and it's crazy because as much as we may live in a region that sort of celebrates this idea of breaking out of those sort of masculine boundaries that have been placed on us in earlier generations, there's still regionally around the world very much places. I remember when I used to do the 9 Cents podcast, I would get people from Africa whenever I would talk about, the sort of the strength of women and how much I love them. They'd be like, you don't give women those rights. They'll take your rights away if you do that. Or they don't deserve those rights because they're women. And it's this idea that men have to always be in control or else. And I feel like that's yes, that is a real world sentiment from ages past, because men have always felt like they need to be in control, and any lack of that sense of control means they feel weak or worthless. But that's not necessarily how you should feel. There's nothing wrong. Someone else having individuality and strength does not mean you're weak. It just means that they are strong. It's the same reason why I don't think you should have to bring someone else down so that you can build yourself up. Like those two things are not connected.
Yeah, just because somebody's doing well doesn't mean that they're taking that away from you.
Yeah, and that whole idea of subjugating women as an act of strength or justification in being a man is so fucking archaic. I cannot get behind it. And yet it still is a very real sensibility.
Yeah.
Very real.
It's insane.
So I love the idea that they take Cheese. First of all, Cheese is a great goddamn character.
He really is. Like that kid's cool as shit.
The most casual, cool kickback, really fully actualized. He understands why he acts the way he does, why he thinks the way he does. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Did you ever watch Dawson's Creek?
No.
Okay. So this is a teen drama that is very much centered around adult characters acting as if they're teens. And they're all completely self-actualized, which is not a thing kids are. No. So Cheese is a Dawson's Creek character. He is fully actualized, even though he should not be, because kids that age are not. They may have some things together, but not everything. He seems to have everything understood and in control. Yeah. And it's part of why I like him, because we're older, and so we're kind of more in the headspace that he is, even though he shouldn't be because he's younger and sort of stumbling through life still. But that's why we love him, because he's like wise beyond his years, as it were. Anyway, they all take him into a place where I've always taken my kids, where like the whole reason of man camp was to get out with a bunch of other guys and just enjoy nature and sort of recenter ourselves with camaraderie. And that's literally what this episode started out being, and I loved it so much.
Oh, yeah.
Mixed with the mythologies that each of these characters sort of inherited throughout their own lives and their own sort of flavors. The whole Bigfoot thing,
dude, I fucking loved it, man.
it's amazing.
Especially the credit scene or the post-credit scene of them recreating
Sword fight.
them fucking peeing. Oh my god, that shit was so fucking funny.
It's amazing. I love how we just build up these sort of mythologies around us. And it doesn't need to be rational. It's just what we want to believe. And so we're going to sort of create this thing. All of it is positive. In every single aspect, it's positive. And even though the people trying to teach him lessons are failing miserably because they clearly don't know anything themselves, that's just kind of awesome. Like, I dig the whole situation.
Well, it's like that's reality.
Yeah.
Like I was having that discussion with a friend of mine earlier today. Like that's the fucking myth of the adult. Like, what's her face said it so goddamn well in the first episode of this season. Like you hit a certain period of life, and then you only get older. Nothing changes from there. Like I still am a fucking 16-year-old punk rocker that has nothing. No aspirations, no nothing going on. I got a lot more responsibilities, a lot more weight, a lot more back pain. But like, I'm still up here. I'm still that fucking 16-year-old kid that's just ready to quit showering and hop on a train to the other side of the country just for fucking shits and giggles. So, it brought that home with, Brownie, Bucky, and Big. Like they're all, because of course we kind of know where this is going. We understand why they're doing what they're doing. But it's still just sort of like in the background, but you can see it in each individual interaction that they have with Cheese.
Yeah.
Just,
I love it when they're sitting around in their sort of chairs and he's like, so what are we going to do next? And they're like, no, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing next. I was just like, yeah, that's every single man camp.
Fuck yeah. No, that's what you do. Like you go out, you do your shit, you have fun. And then it's just hours of sitting like, oh my God, I haven't done this in over a year. This is beautiful.
That was so great. And he's like, well, let's do something that I learned. Let's just get in a circle and we'll just hold the stick and just talk. Therapy session 101. I don't think we've ever gotten to that space, but we've gotten
pretty goddamn adjacent. Close. We've hit some deep subjects before.
Yeah. I loved it. As soon as I can't remember the name of the guy. Was it Bucky? I'm mixing up Bucky and Big. Bucky. So he like grabs it and he just immediately breaks down about Maximus, his friend, and losing him, and this expectation of being a man, and how he's not supposed to feel sad about losing his friend, but he desperately does, and he just breaks down weeping, and then everyone else is like,
that was Big first.
Okay, so I'm just
it was Big because the accident thing. He just loses his shit, and that one, it was when that happened. It's like, okay, this is real. But is he joking? Because it was really funny how he was crying. Yeah. But then, because at first it's Brownie, he says some shit, and then it goes to Big, and then did it go to Bucky?
Brownie was the pot smoker.
Yeah, Brownie's the pot smoker.
It started with the sheriff.
Okay, so yeah, it did start with Big, then it went to Brownie, then it went to Bucky, then back to Brownie. Okay, yeah, that's right.
I thought it was great the vulnerability that we were allowed to see in this cop who's supposed to have everything under control and everything is supposed to be in order, and they still have an open wound for an old friend, and it's this idea that you can process trauma and you can manage it, but you never really get over it. It's like a scar that you have on your body that you will always have there. And sometimes you bump up against it and it hurts a little bit. And sometimes you look at it and you remember the pain and it sort of floods you with that emotion from that old time. It's like hearing a song or a smell and it just takes you back to an earlier moment in your life. Those traumas never fully leave you. And I don't ever think I would ever want them to, because they help define who you become.
Exactly.
Through the expression of them. I thought it was beautiful.
I hate the idea of closure. Like, people think that exists, and it's like, until you've experienced real, true, deep trauma, you don't understand. There's no such thing as closure.
Yeah.
Like it's a myth.
And then I get you want to be able to operate in spite of said, traumatic experiences, on a normal or as normal as you can possibly understand level. Yeah, and if that is what closure means, then okay. But the idea of closure being you just forget about it or you get past it and never think about it again, no, that's a myth.
Yeah, that's just asinine. That just means it didn't matter to begin with.
Yeah, and then why would it even bother you if you're able to not be bothered by it? Like every single I'm still affected by every single thing that's happened, like every friend that's passed, my father, like everything that you go through, even the trauma of growing up in a household that you don't feel like you connect with in any way at all. And then, your family like rejects you for whatever reason. Like every single one of those experiences still scars me, and it still is like an open nerve. I avoid touching those nerves, but sometimes I brush up against them, and then I have to re-experience all of it. And yes, it fucking hurts, but that means that I'm alive, and it means that I have actually grown because I've experienced that pain. I've moved beyond it, but I still remember it. It's still very, very real, and it's a part of me. It's part of what makes up who I am. Same thing with everything that you've experienced, and even in the fucking show, these fictional characters, they're still very much affected by the loss of their friend. The thing is, he's still alive. He's still out there, and they don't know. Oh.
Well, I don't know. Do you know if they know or not? Like
I don't think they know.
I like to think
because he literally left, and then he was like institutionalized.
Yeah,
like, I don't think they know that.
It's like I wonder to what extent they think they lost their friend. Because I mean, yes, death is terrible. Death is the absolute. That's the final saying. But it's almost worse when they're still alive, but they're gone. Like if you've ever had, family that had Alzheimer's, dementia, shit like that, that is so much worse than watching them die. It's like, cause they're still there. The shell is there, but they're gone. And that's almost worse.
Yeah. I don't even want to imagine that. That's really brutal.
Yeah.
Man, this show is amazing at putting you in touch with like yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like
well, and then for it to end the way it did, where it's fucking happy.
Yeah.
And it's so abrupt, and it almost is out of place, but it's not. Like to be like, wow, well, that was great. Can I make a phone call real quick? And then the rest of the gang shows up with some fucking Sonic in a cooler. Like, what other show could get away with that kind of ending and it not be bullshit?
I honestly thought that was the end of the season, and I was angry. I was like,
Same.
don't you fucking dare end. And then I looked up, I was like, okay, whew.
That was my first thought too. I was shitting myself. Then it's like, wait, no, this is the 6th episode. There's no way it's over already.
There's still more.
Yeah, I was
so glad.
Yeah, that would have been debilitating. I mean, it would have been a good way to end, but it would have been a frustrating way to end.
Yeah. The thing is like, I don't need a resolution with Maximus, but I would like to have, Bear was it Bear? To explain that he experienced Maximus to his friends. Like we've been shown this sort of multi-dimensional friendship circles throughout this entire season and how they've been connected through Maximus and Bear. I want that to finish the full circle.
Yeah.
I would love to see a situation where they all go and try to like break him out. Like that would be dope as fuck.
That would be.
I don't think they will, but that would be amazing. I would love a season where they just connect with him. Like they go to visit him in the institution. I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. We're here for you. When you get out, we're here. We'll help you. We believe you. And to have Maximus hear that, I think would be everything.
There wouldn't be a dry eye anywhere.
I would bawl.
God, just even thinking about that, it's already fucking me up.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be amazing. That's what I want so desperately bad, is some sort of full circle. Because I love the experience of the women last season, and there was no real resolution to it. It was just, this is our experience. This is what we're going through. And now we're getting that with the male side, and I don't feel like we're ever going to have that full contextual connection, and they've been leading up to it.
Yeah.
Unless we bring Maximus back into the friendship circle. So they've got to, like, at least visit
that'd
him.
be so beautiful. Yeah.
Ugh. I would love that so much. That would be amazing.
Same.
All right. And it would, of course, then strengthen the existing Reservation Dogs circle of friends. You know, they would all see that, recognize that that is a potential, and avoid that at all costs by staying in connection with each other.
Which, I don't know. Do you feel like Cheese understands that at the end of this episode? Because I do.
Yeah.
I definitely see that he understood he was fucking himself up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because he says outright he is.
Yeah.
Like, that kid, he's just too goddamn smart.
Yeah, again, he's a Dawson's Creek character.
Yeah.
If no one's ever seen Dawson's Creek...
Okay, I'm going to put it in a much more easier way.
Palatable way.
He is the Princess Leia of Reservation Dogs. Because, say what you will about her, she was the only self-actualized character in that series. Other than, like, maybe the Emperor.
Wow. Okay. Let me think about this for a second. Because, yes, she was definitely self-actualized. I would think that, well, Han Solo, he still was reluctant to admit, so he wasn't. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Chewbacca as well, but that... out of the
Chewbacca's definitely self-actualized.
Yeah.
He's just,
okay, so whatever. He could be the Chewbacca. He's Cheesebacca. That's what he is.
Cheesebacca. Yes. We need that T-shirt. Fucking Cheesebacca. Yeah. All right. And that's, you know, that ending. We get that sort of post-credit or mid-credit scene or beginning credit scene of fucking Sasquatch doing the exact same thing with Cheese. Like, you ever sword fight? And he's like, stop it. Face forward.
That shit was so goddamn good.
It's like, I don't think I've ever sword fighted with any of my friends.
I definitely have not. I've been in many urinals where somebody's like, "Hey, you want a lightsaber fight?" And it's like, I don't think we should.
I'm good.
I'm entirely too sober for this. We'll put a pin in that.
Yeah. But not even on our campouts. Not one lightsaber fight. Not one sword fight. I don't.
It's weird.
I don't want to, but I'm surprised that it hasn't happened. Everything else seems to have happened weird on those fucking trips. That seems the least weird thing that could happen, and yet it has not.
All right, Man Camp 2024.
Sword fight. All right. Anything else you want to talk about this episode?
Oh man, we got it.
No, well, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live. So get your asses out there and watch Reservation Dogs, fucks. It's amazing.
Fuck yeah.
Genuinely. God damn, I love this show so much. I was really upset thinking it was the end, too.
The same.
I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah,